What's up guys, Kardak here, and I'm here with another Digimon deck profile. Today we'll be going over the BT-17 version of the Imperialdramon deck. So compared to the BT-16 version of the deck, it's not too different, but I am switching over from a Vmon core to a Vmon core. Just because we'll talk about that a bit later, but let's have a look at the Digimon first. So we are running 4 of the Demi Vmon from BT-16, so we're running the one that gives you 1000 DP. As long as your Digimon is dual color, you get plus 1000 DP. And the DP gain you get is important because in the current meta, a lot of things that you cannot remove from effects, you'll have to beat over by battle. And so getting that DP will help your deck just run a little bit more smoothly, being able to beat over Digimon that normally couldn't. So that's why we are running the DP gain Demi Vmons. For the level 3s, we are going to be running 4 of the Vmon from BT-12. This is the Searcher. This is still a really strong card in the deck just because it can search out majority of the cards that you are running. So look at the top 3, you can grab a Imperialdramon, a card with Imperialdramon's name as well, or a free type, and then you can also grab a card with Davidson's name. And so that's pretty much the bulk of the deck. And the same goes for the Vmon. You can grab a Imperialdramon card as well, or a free type, and then you can also grab a Davis card, a card with Davidson's name. So with these, you can pretty much search out the majority of the deck, and so this is a really important starter. If you don't have the 4-cost dual Tamer, these will be your perfect starters to go into. Next, we are also running 2 of the promo Vmon. So this is the Vmon that lets you digivolve into a free type for 1 cost less. So it's obviously really good just because you can just do it for 1 cost, and the inherit lets you draw a card. So for the level 3s, we are doing a mix between the BT-16 and the promo Vmon. So this ratio I'm still experimenting with, but I went from like 4-1 to 3-2. I was also running 3-2 of this promo and then the Demi Vmon. But I feel like depending on what's more prevalent in your locals, you can kind of go back and forth. Just because the 2000 DP does come in handy if there's a lot of towers in your locals, like a lot of tower decks with big DPs. You can use this to beat over them. So it's pretty good for that. And this card is pretty flexible as well, just because whenever you play or evolve a free type, you can, if you digivolve another Digimon that's free type, you can get 1 memory back. So it's very useful for jogressing. And if you have a Vmon in your hand, or sorry, a Stingmon in your hand, you can pretty much play it for 2 cost. So this Stingmon lets you you can play it for 3 costs if you have a blue type, and you can further get a memory back if you play this, so it'd be 2 costs. So it's really good. Being able to play a level 4 for 2 is donks. So that's why this card is being played at 3 right now. You can try a 4-1 if you want, or if you want to count out a card that's shown later, you can, and you can run a 3-3. So that is my lineup for the rookies. Now let's move on to level 4s. So I am running 4 of the Vmon from BT-12. So if you jogress with this, you get 1 memory back, and the inherit is jamming, so this is obviously strong. But we're also running 2 of the Vmon from EX1. So if your opponent doesn't have a blocker on the board, you can use this to get extra attack in, which is really strong as well. You can kind of play around the ratios. If you want to run 3-3, that's fine as well, but I feel like the memory gain you get to extend your turn is a little bit more useful, and that's why I'm running 4-2. But if you feel like that extra attack is more useful, you can. Next, for the other level 4s, we're running the Stingmon. Again, we're running 4 of this just because you can potentially play for 2 costs, which is really good. And the attack lets you undraw 1 attack. Yeah, it's also pretty good for digging through your deck. So this is not once per turn, so as long as you attack with it, you can draw. Attack with a blue Digimon, which you will be. And we're also running 2 of the Stingmon from BT-12, so this one helps you get a memory back as long as sorry. Next, we're also running 2 of the Stigmon from BT-12. This one helps you get memory back when you jog-rest as well, so it's good. And the hair ability just gives you piercing if you are Imperialdramon. So yeah, it's good. You'll be able to beat over stuff, and you can still do your security check. So it's pretty nice. Next, the best level 5 of the deck, we're running the Imperialdramon. So Imperialdramon is from BT-16, so its ability is Partition, level 4, blue and green, and then when Digivolving you can suspend all your opponent's Digimon with as many or fewer evolution cards as this card. Then if you are jog-resting, all of your opponent's Digimon cannot unsuspend at the end of the turn. And then when attacking, suspend one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. If you didn't suspend, you can unsuspend this card. So potentially you can just do more attacks with this one. Most of the time you will, just because on evolution, most of the time you'll be able to rest all your opponent's Digimon, just because they probably won't have as much source as you, unless you're also playing a DNA Digivolution deck. But if you have the Davidon Ken, you'll be able to source strip, so you can make it so that they don't have as many sources as you. So it's pretty easy to just tap their whole field. And the hair ability is just a Partition, which is pretty good as well. Next, for the other level 5s, we're running 2 of the ST9 Imperialdramon. This card's still good, not as good just because it doesn't have Partition, but being able to do 2 attacks is nice. So depending on the situation, if you're playing against a deck that doesn't have a lot of removals that's being played in the deck, you can run this. You mostly will have jamming from the Vmons, so you're not too worried about that. But yeah, we're running 2 of those. Next, we're also running 2 of the Imperialdramon from BT-12. So on evolution, you can trash the top 3 cards of all your opponent's Digimon, and then if you're DNA Digivolving 2 of your opponent's Digimon with no evolution cards cannot attack until the end of one's turn. So you can do some stuns, which is really nice as well. And the hair ability is at the end of attack, if you have Imperialdramon or free type in its traits, then you can get one member back. So yeah, pretty solid just to source strip, because source stripping is pretty good in this deck, just so you can slow down your opponent and just give them less effects to proc on their turn. And if you don't want to attack with your Digimon because you're afraid they have a Blast Illusion, then this card is pretty good to go into. Next, for the level 6s, we are running 3 of the Imperialdramon Dragonmon from BT-16. So on evolution, one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers cannot unsuspend on the end of the turn, and then by suspending one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers, you can unsuspend one of your Digimon. So pretty good. And then on both turns, whenever a opponent's Digimon is played or evolved by a effect, if you have a Tamer, you can Digivolve into a fighter mode without paying its cost. So this one, as mentioned by a person in my previous video, you can proc it off trainings, so it's pretty good. So even if they don't attack and they're still doing their main phase stuff, you can potentially go into your Imperialdramon fighter mode from BT-12. So running one of this on evolution, you can suspend all your opponent's Digimon with no evolution cards, and then return one of your suspended Digimon to the hand. And then by returning one Imperialdramon Dragon Mode from this card's source to the owner's hand, then you can return all your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of the deck instead. So potentially you can ruin your opponent's day with this, so it's pretty good. And then on all turns, this card gets 1000 DP for each card in its source, for each color in its source. So you only get 2. If you have green and you have the Vmon as well, you can also get extra 1000, so you can potentially get up to 3000 DP and an extra 2000 for the Vmon and another extra 1000 for that. So you can beat over most things. And then it gets security check +1 as well as blocker, which does come in handy. But we're only running 1 because deck space is pretty tight, and I do like the ace mode, the Ace Imperialdramon Fighter mode more, and that's why we're running 2 of these. So the fact is, so it has less evolution, and then on play and on evolution, one of your opponent's Digimon with as many or fewer evolution cards is sent to the bottom of the deck, and then at the end of attack, you can unsuspend this Digimon, and then if you have fighter mode in this card's source, then you can return one of your opponent's Digimon that's suspended to the bottom of the deck. So pretty good. Just because you can bot deck a few things, which is pretty important. And yeah, so running 2 of these just because potentially it can just remove threats on the board. If you can't remove them with effects, you use this to beat over them, which is very nice as well. Next, we're running 2 of the Imperialdramon Paladin mode Ace. So on evolution and on play, you can trash all of the evolution cards from opponent's Digimon, and then afterwards you can choose one of you or your opponent's trash and put all those cards back to the bottom of the deck. And then if a level 7 white level 7 is returned this way, you can get 3 mana back. And then on attack, by returning one of your opponent's Digimon with no evolution cards, then you can suspend this Digimon. So it's very powerful. It ruins purple's deck stays, and you can just, if it stays on the board, you can just use it for removal. So assuming that you have the other stuff and you stun them, your opponent's Digimon are pretty much just sitting duck on their turn, and then when it's your turn again, you can just use this to attack and just return stuff to the bottom of the deck. And this is not once per turn, so as long as I have Digimon on the board, you can just keep attacking, return, attack, return, attack, and return. So you can kind of go for a game like that. So it's very strong. Alright, next for the Tamers, we are running 4 of the Davidon Ken. This card is very important in the deck, and that's why we're running 4. I was running 3 before, which is pretty consistent, but having 4 just pretty much guarantees you to get it within the first couple of turns of the game, which is important because this will help you snowball your resources. So the fact is, at the beginning of the main phase, you can play a Vmon or Vmon for free, and then at the end of opponent's turn, you can return it back to your hand. But most of the time, you already have used it for a Jogress, so that's not too big a problem. And then the inherent ability is whenever one of your Digimon digivolves into a blue or green Digimon, by suspending this Tamer, you can get 1 memory back. And then if you are Jogressing, you can trash any 3 evolution cards from one of your opponent's Digimon, which is actually huge because it helps you fulfill other conditions for your other cards. So it's just really good. We're running 1 of the Davidon Ken from BT-17. This card I'm kind of experimenting with. I don't think it's super necessary, but it is nice to have sometime. It's got some niche uses, but the fact that it's a 5 cost kind of hinders it a lot. So it's on both players' turn. Whenever one of your level 5 or higher free type Digimon would be deleted by battle, you can rush the Tamer, and you can play one of the level 4 cards from its source without paying its cost. 4 lore, so if you have a Vmon that you want to use to search, you can. And then the third ability is, so this is, sorry, I forgot to mention, this is a memory setter. So that, by the way, this is a memory setter, so that's the first effect. And the last effect is, at the end of your turn, one of your free type Digimon can attack one of your opponent's Digimon. So in the events that you don't have enough memory, this card will come in handy to just beat over things if you have enough DP. But I think I might just cut this down back to another Davis, but having 1, it does come in handy sometimes. It's not super useful. I might like having a search a little bit more, but I don't know. 1/1 works, but if you don't like it, I can understand why. But having 1 just experimenting with a new card, I think is fine. So we're also running 1 of the Davis from BT-3. This is a memory setter as well, and then on play you can look at the top 3 cards of the deck. You can add a blue and green Digimon to your hand. So the reason why this card is still so good in this deck is because you are running green and blue Digimon and a lot of dual color Digimon. So if you hit this in security, you can potentially profit a lot. And this card just helps you on brick sometimes, as well as setting up for a setter. So if you're asking me which one I would prefer if you're running 2. Probably this one. I don't recommend running this at 2. I think running it at 1 is fine, but totally understandable if you're why you would want to run the old Davis at 2 if you want. But I probably wouldn't recommend running more than 2, just because memory setter is still a memory setter, so you won't profit too much afterwards. So we are also running 2 of the Return to the Ancestors. So the main effect is one of your Digimon may Digivolve into a level 5 or higher Digimon with free trait with the reduced cost by 4, and then you can place a card in the battle area. And then on all turns, whenever one of your Digimon with the free trait would be deleted other than by one of your own effects, you can Digivolve this into a Imperialdramon from your hand without paying its cost and prevent the deletion. So this card's just really good to prevent you, or really good for just extra protection. And as long as you go into level 5, you can climb up quite a bit. So your dragon modes can go into fighter modes, your fighter modes can go into paladin modes. So it's really easy to proc this card and just have it for protection. So yeah, we're running 2 of those, and the last option we're running is Mega Death. This card is up to you. You can not run this if you want. You can run any other card. This is one of the flexible slots. I do like this just in case there are cards on the board that are immune to Digimon effects. I can still have something to remove my opponent's Digimon. And 1 is enough for me. I was running 2 before, but sometimes it's dead in my hand when I wanted another combo piece instead. So that's why I'm running this at 1. But this card is flexible, and I would probably run a removal option if you want. You can also run Heaven's Judgment if you want. Heaven's Judgment is also fine. You can run Giga Death if you want. You can even run Crimson Blaze if you want, because we are running the Vmon. I don't recommend it though, because it could be a brick in your hand, but it's an option for you if you want. If you really like Crimson Blaze, you can. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This deck is super fun to play. It is, once this deck gets rolling, it's very hard to dismantle, just because there's lots of protection, and it does so many attacks in one turn that once you get set up, if your opponent doesn't have an answer, they're probably dead on the turn afterwards. So yeah, this deck is good, very fun to play, and yeah, it's consistency it's fine. It's just that you need to have a lot set up. Like, getting the combo pieces is not hard. Just setting it up is the annoying part. And sometimes if you don't have the way to cheat out your Vmon and Vmons, it does slow down the deck a lot, and that's why we have to get this as soon as possible, just to get the ball rolling. Once you have this on the board and you have enough rookies in your hand, you're pretty much set. But that's pretty much it for this deck, players. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you guys want to support the channel, feel free to use the affiliate down below and join channel membership if you haven't already. But this is Card Haku, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!